Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rule The Roost Podcast. Got a very special guest today for a very special game. Mr. Ben Welch, as ever, bringing the banter ahead of a North London derby. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I promised myself that I'd try to be decisive in this podcast and feel confident, but I don't. I don't think I'd feel confident if Tottenham were bottom of the league and Arsenal were top and they were absolute garbage. I'd still feel like there was a chance we could lose, and I'm feeling that ahead of this game.
I never ever get this from you though. The Emirates. I was going to say the Arteta-rates, but I'm not going to give you another name. But you call it all these weird names like the carpet and all that, don't you? But
the Arsenal, mate. It's the Arsenal.
The Emirates is a points graveyard for Tottenham. Always has been. Highbury always was. It's horrible. You've got no reason to fear this game, surely. Or not this one in isolation, but this fixture overall, right?
I feel like we're less. The implosions have been less in the kind of last couple of seasons, and I feel like we're a little bit more resilient and stronger, and I feel like we're less susceptible, especially at home in games like this. But I don't know. It is early. If you listen to Tottenham fans on social media, you're going to win the World Cup, the European Championships, the Champions League, the Premier League.
Now we've got rid of that Harry Kane curse. You know what I mean? He was holding us back, wasn't he, apparently? So
it is, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of excitement about Ange. I do like him. He's a likeable character. And they do look good. They're playing well.
You're not allowed to say that, mate, on North London derby week. They're going to be coming for you.
But they look good. So, and you and me, obviously, we exchanged some messages during the week about it, and I was thinking about it today. You were sort of saying that Tottenham will come for us, but obviously Spurs are like a million miles away from PSV. There's no comparison. Let's not get too excited. Well done, Arsenal beat PSV. They should. But it showed that is the only game where this season, even when we play Man United, who really should come at us, the only team that played openly and they got absolutely destroyed. Obviously, Spurs are a lot better than PSV. I know that, and I'm not comparing the two. But we have found it more difficult against teams that have sat back a little bit and hit us on the counter. And I don't know if Ange would look at that and say maybe there's some lessons to be taken from that, because Man United were absolutely dreadful against us. Terrible approach to the game, but they nearly nicked it. And I wonder if Spurs, I know they're attacking and they're coming at teams. I wonder if Ange looks at that game last night and thinks, maybe going to the Emirates and playing open is not a good idea. I don't know. That's just what I took from last night's result and thinking about how Spurs would approach this game.
I don't know if I can see Ange going any other way. That's the thing. It doesn't seem to be in his makeup. But we'll talk about the game in particular in a bit. I just want to ask you first a bit more about Arsenal, right? Mm-hmm. How you think you've been doing this season. What have you made of your start to the season? Because people have sort of been saying you've been getting the results, but it's been a bit sort of stuttery. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. So on paper, you can't argue with really the results other than Fulham. I think that Arsenal are trying a new system. They've got new players to integrate into the team. And also, I just think teams are changing their approach against us. The excitement of the last 2 years come from basically Arsenal being pretty crap before that and teams thinking that they could get at Arsenal because history has shown that they could. And over the last 2 seasons, we've built up some credibility. We've changed the perception of how we play, who we are, and the players we've got.
Sorry, mate. Just go back a little bit. You dropped out there for.
No worries. So I think that the excitement of the last 2 seasons came from a little bit of our unpredictability and teams not knowing how we were going to play. So they would play open against us because history has shown that you could get at us and that we weren't solid defensively, but through good recruitment and the tactics that Arteta has introduced and the good feeling around the team because we've been better, teams are wise to that now. So I wouldn't necessarily say that we've been stuttery. As I said, we are still acclimatizing to new players and new system, but I just think teams are wising up and knowing that they can't play like that against us, and they're being defensive. I mean, Man United coming to the Emirates and basically playing like death ball and defending and sitting back. Like, I don't know. I would say there's that to come into it. I do think the PSV game is interesting in the sense that that was the one team that came and played open and we ripped them apart. And I think the team needed a little bit of that. Now, I don't think they'll get too ahead of themselves. It's PSV. We should beat them. But that little confidence in kind of the attacking fluidity of the way we're playing, they needed that. I don't think that we've looked resilient and strong so far this season, but I don't think we've played with real the kind of attacking fluidity that we've seen previously. So I would say that we're a team that is adjusting to kind of a new era, the next phase of like what Arteta had for us, and new personnel and how you adapt to playing with that personnel. So we're not on fire, but I think we've started pretty well.
Because I think this was my point more. It's not so much about your results, but you maybe haven't looked as free flowing, if you like, as kind of rock and roll football, as Jurgen Klopp used to call it, right, in the early stages of the season, as you sort of were last year. But I think there's an interesting parallel there. I bring up Jurgen Klopp because you remember for a couple of years, Liverpool, they played that, what is it, kind of, swashbuckling, for want of a better word, style, where they'd go into every single game with a lot of swagger. But teams could sometimes still get at them, and that seemed to ultimately, I mean, the brilliance of Manchester City obviously went against Liverpool, so it's probably quite unfair to say that Liverpool did anything wrong in particular themselves. I mean, if I recall, they got 99 points, lost one game, and still didn't win the Premier League. So it's pretty warped. But for a while, like I say, Liverpool played this kind of, not carefree, but a very, very ultra progressive, very ultra front foot style of football. But the year they actually, I believe, went on to win the league, they did play somewhat more conservatively. Do you think this is potentially what Arteta could be doing with you lot? That he's picking up on the fact that, okay, well, it may be nice on the eye, but we have left ourselves a bit more open in previous seasons. And if we do play somewhat more conservatively, at least we may have a greater chance of success?
I think Saka is becoming ruthlessly effective. But are the other players doing that? Do you get enough goals out of Jesus? I think I love Jesus. I absolutely love him. I think he's a great player. But to be ruthlessly effective, do you need him to score more and contribute more? Martinelli's pretty effective and ruthless. I don't know, just with Liverpool, I just felt like they had Salah. And when you've got like that world-class player that sets you apart, that's maybe the difference between, I would say, Klopp's Liverpool and Arteta's Arsenal is someone like Salah. But I think Saka is he's this season he scored 3 goals and got 4 assists in 7 games. I don't think he's even played like absolutely amazing. So we're getting a player to that caliber, but I think that would be the difference then. I think the Emirates is becoming a harder play. Like, it's obviously the atmosphere has improved, but it's not Anfield. But what we have done is what Liverpool had, is we've become more physically strong. We're getting bigger players in the team. And I know that sounds like really kind of basic, but just the sheer size of the players and the physicality of them, that's what Klopp's team had. And I think we're getting a little bit more of that. And you need that. And I think you've seen that in the way we've played. We're not getting bullied by teams anymore. But I don't know. Like you say, you mentioned Pep's Man City. They're relentlessly efficient and boring. And they just, I mean, I was wallowing in my self-pity, anger, and wanting to rip down and tear down football and destroy Man City in the Premier League after we blew it last year because they just cheated their way to the title. I looked at their points totals for the times that Pep's been here. It's ridiculous. You have to be perfect. Like, Arsenal lose, they draw a game at home to Fulham, and they're already like, that's the season gone. People are talking like that. They drew 1 game, but that's what you have to be like to play against City because they've got the best team and the best coach. So it might be another case of like Klopp's Liverpool, getting really close, being really good, being like you know, I don't know, era defining good for that club, but are they good enough to beat Man City? Probably not. I don't know.
Oh God, I don't know what's happened there, but they are. Yeah, I mean that is the thing, isn't it? That's always the shadow over most things to do with the Premier League at the moment. Is as excited as Spurs fans have gotten, you're talking about Spurs fans getting a bit giddy at the start of the year. There's this sort of meme at the moment of like, could we actually, do a Leicester or all this kind of thing? But you think City don't have a year off, do they? They just
No.
don't, and they're just a relentless. We spoke about Liverpool, we spoke about Klopp. As much as an unpleasant individual as I personally find him, anyway, you can't help but feel a bit gutted for him. Like he should be sat there with 2-3 Premier League medals. You know what I mean? And it's pretty mad that they don't have it. You sort of touched on there that they cheated their way to the title last year. Ben, you don't think there was an element of you having it in your own hands a bit? That I don't want. I'm not going to use the B word because I know how painful that can feel when people use that word. But
Well, first of all, as an employee of a very well-respected and esteemed organisation, I'd like to retract that accusation, that unfounded accusation that Man City cheated their way to the. That was the emotional fan in me coming out, and I would never make such an unfounded accusation. I think Arsenal did have the title in their hands, and they didn't have the squad to cope. And then once they got rocked, it was just too much for a young team to, and we just didn't have the personnel. We lost Saliba, that pretty much killed us. And then I think the psychological impact of throwing away the games at West Ham and Liverpool. I say throwing away. Anfield's different, I guess, but West Ham, that shouldn't have happened. And then to go 1-0 down, I think it was the Southampton game. They just couldn't come back from that. And
it's not a happy fixture for you either, is it, Liverpool? Same as us. Like we never get anything from them.
I just think it was the conversation the whole time was always like, can Arsenal hold on? And that's probably like what the players started to think when things were going on. It's not, can City catch us? It became, can we hold on? And they just, I just don't think they could deal with that pressure. And Man City can rotate. They can rest their best players so that their best players are explosive all the way through to the end of the season. I think Saka looked tired towards the end of last season, and Man City are playing like Foden and Mahrez and whoever else on their wing, and they're just too good. It's a shame. They elevate the rest of the teams around them because you've got to be that good, but it's kind of rubbish for everyone else because you're never going to catch them.
Do you think that? All right, I've got to say this, mate, as a Spurs fan and all this type of stuff, though. Don't you think you created a bit of that yourself, though? All the holding up the clock in the dressing room shit and Arteta's general shtick. Like, you created a bit of that pressure for yourself, didn't you?
I definitely agree with the clock photo. I didn't understand that. I'm not on board at all, and I absolutely, completely and utterly dismiss this bollocks about the celebration police bullshit. If you can't celebrate emotional games, what are we doing? Because if you're only allowed to celebrate winning when Man City have won 5 of the last 6 Premier League titles, and what are we all doing? Might as well just not bother. Yeah. So that argument really irritates the fuck out of me. Like, really annoys me.
Unless it's used against Spurs, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm going full celebration police on Ange and this Spurs journey right now, but. So I don't get on board with that. I didn't really understand the clock picture. I kind of felt like that was. I never really liked the dressing room photos either, ever. Like, not just any team, not just Arsenal. Like, you won a game.
Newcastle love a dressing room photo.
Yeah, I just kind of. What I find silly about it is, right, obviously everyone knows that you're celebrating in the dressing room. Like, that's obvious.
Yeah.
So this bollocks that, you get some pundits be like, we used to win a game. We come in there and no one danced and we never shook. We were never happy and we were just on to the next game.
We used to drink tar and punch each other in the bollocks. You know what I mean?
Bollocks. Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Everyone celebrates wins, big wins. It's like when Rio was giving it that Arsenal celebrated the Community Shield, and then there was that clip going around of, I think, Man United beating Arsenal in the Community Shield and Rio going absolutely mental. So I'm not having that at all. But I don't really like the dressing room photos and the clock photo I definitely didn't get. And I think it was part of Arteta trying to shift the mentality of the team into believing what they could achieve and being confident, and striking that balance is difficult. And I would agree that, maybe we did bring it on ourselves a little bit. It's hard to know. It's like,
it's a fine line. Ben, did you buy one of those Brain and Heart t-shirts?
Listen, I am fully invested in Mikel Arteta in the process, but
yeah,
I'm not going to lie. I see some of that stuff and I just think, men of that age, as in the players, what are they thinking? What's going on when that stuff is happening? I just can't imagine them sort of not, especially English culture, which is to ridicule and take the piss. And
everyone knows The Office, Peep Show, all that type of thing.
Exactly. I just kind of, to be honest, that wasn't the one that killed me. The light bulb was the one that killed me. I just think those English lads, especially, are not coming out of that dressing room going, "What was that all about?"
Do you know the only one I will begrudgingly give you a lot? The only one is and I make fun of it, but still, I thought it worked. Was getting the club photographer out ahead of the North London derby.
Yeah.
I begrudgingly, I was like, yeah, I kind of get what he's doing here. That was fair enough,
Absolutely. And I mean, listen, the players are responding to it. And I think when you watch things on telly and you hear about them on social media and stuff, it's kind of easy to laugh at and take the piss out of it. And I get it. And I would do it if it was any other club. But I think when you're in the dressing room, you're part of the team and the culture, and you're kind of moving towards winning, I guess those little things that maybe, they work and that you feel invested in them. And when you start seeing the results, like, so over the summer, like for work, I went to Germany, part of Arsenal's pre-season, and interviewed a few of the players, and a lot of them were all saying the same thing. And then I've seen the same thing in lots of other interviews with Arsenal players, was them saying that when Arteta basically says what's going to happen in a game, and then it happens, and that really gets their investment. So he'll break down what the opposition are going to do, how they're going to do it. And even if they score, the opposition score, the players were saying, we know that's how they're going to score. It's obviously difficult to stop because you're playing against Premier League players. But Arteta sees the game in a way that they've never seen it before, and he can almost predict what happens. And when you get that investment, if someone's going to whack a light bulb on in the dressing room and draw a brain and a heart, I guess you're in, right? You're like, well, this is a bit mental, but we're winning.
That's sort of what happens with cults, though, isn't it?
Listen, I've signed up for this cult. If we start winning, I'm all in. I don't care, because the end of the Wenger era was when we become, top tier banter club with Arsenal Fan TV. I'm signing up for a cult, because I'd rather be in a cult and wearing Brain and Heart t-shirts than fucking being part of that era ever again.
Well, I mean, all right, we're talking about what you can do, what will get your buy-in.
What's that?
We're talking about like what Arsenal can or can't do, what's going to get your buy-in, right? What can you do this year, mate? Because you spend a lot of money. You're not the underdogs anymore, right?
No, I totally agree. And actually, do you know what? Like what I was saying at the start, I think that's another thing, is the pressure and expectation has changed. And even though the atmosphere in the stadium is night and day compared to what it used to be towards the end of the Wenger era, you can definitely feel a gear change when games haven't been going our way. Now the expectation is not like, oh, come on, lads, we're starting out again on this new exciting adventure and we give them a pass. I'm not saying that we're not at that, because it is definitely more of a positive atmosphere, but you can feel the difference. And I do think that the money and the achievements of the past few seasons have shifted expectation, and that has put on the pressure on the players. So when games are not going their way, I think you can feel that a little bit in the way they're playing, and you can feel it a little bit in the stadium, not massively. And the conversation, the narrative in the media is different. It's not like, oh, look at this new kind of exciting young Arsenal team. It's like Arsenal are expected to win now. So what do I think we can achieve? I don't think we can win the league. I just think Man City are just too relentless. They're just too good. They just.
Do you think you'll push them as close though as you did last year? Because this is what I'm trying.
Maybe, but I think other teams will be in the mix now.
Well, this is what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, because it doesn't feel. I'm just saying from the outside.
I think
it doesn't feel like you lot have got that same buzz that you had, just from what I see Arsenal fans saying on Twitter and everything like that.
I do, but I just think it is early. It's early doors.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I think it will start to click more for us. Like, I'm never this positive. I'm always like almost impersonating an Arsenal fan, because most of the time I'm so negative about everything. But I do think it will start clicking into place and we'll play better. But I think Liverpool, and I think if Spurs can sort of carry on, I think. I mean, I hope not. I obviously want them to. I want it all to go wrong. I think Man United, they're just feel like they're in this kind of never-ending spiral of despair, which
quality, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. And I'm obviously delighted to see Chelsea struggling as well. So I don't know. It's injuries. I think injuries will. What injuries the Man City get? How does that affect the way they play? And although it's hard to
affect anything for them, though, does it? That's the problem.
No, agreed. But there are, maybe if they got, I don't know. I mean, they've lost De Bruyne, and Alvarez has just come in and basically absolutely smashed it. Maybe Man City lose a bit. I mean, it doesn't even look like that right now. But once you've won the treble, are you still as hungry? A lot of those players have won multiple Premier League titles. I don't know. It's hard. FA Cup, I'd love us to win. That's a possibility. League Cup, not bothered about. I'd take it. I'd take it. But
good day out, though, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah, basically, I don't care about the League Cup until we get to the final. Then it's like a really important trophy, and no one can call it a Mickey Mouse Cup if we get to the final. But before that, I don't give a shit. And obviously, if Spurs get to the final, then it's still a Mickey Mouse Cup.
We're out of it already, so.
Yes. I saw, yes, I forgot about that. Champions League.
You're having a laugh.
I mean, winning it, interesting. What I would say about the Champions League, not that I think that we can win it, but I think that there are a lot of teams that could win it, because other than Man City, no one in that competition stands out to me. So I think that it's one where
I couldn't bear that. I couldn't bear that if you lot won that. Like, I just couldn't.
It would be. Oh my God! But like I say, I'll reiterate. I'm not saying that we're going out there, and I think we're a team that should be aiming to win this. But tell me one team other than Man City, what is one standout team in that competition?
Probably Madrid, because they've got that prestige, they've got that heritage. But other than them, don't know. Bayern looked awful yesterday. I thought they've signed that penalty merchant lump up front, haven't they? So,
yeah,
I don't do much. Yeah, I don't, mate. I don't even want to think about that as a nightmare, though. Like,
it'd be so good.
Can't do it.
We should definitely do it. If that happens, we should definitely, do a pod. Definitely.
Yeah, do you reckon? Yeah, that'd be good fun. That, yeah. Do you know what? I'll come and do it on the high road when they bring the trophy down. Yeah.
Oh God, that would be superb.
I'll wear a Spurs shirt and everything. Do you know what I mean? That'd be some good content, though, wouldn't it? Banner.
There would be lots of banter. The banter would be flying.
Fucking hell. What have you made? I think, like, what have you made of your transfer business, mate? Declan Rice being
I
obviously
lost you there.
notable. What have you made of your transfer business this summer, mate? Declan Rice being the notable one.
Sorry, mate, I lost you there. Can you repeat that?
What have you made of your transfer business this summer?
Yeah, like 100 million is a lot for Declan Rice, and almost when you spend that sort of money, you're thinking of a player that has a very tangible impact upon a game. So assists and goals, I think, and then like a goalkeeper that changes the game, I think, for you. So it's a lot of money, but you can already see. I think the biggest thing he brings is energy and like recovery ones when we lose the ball. Like he absolutely hunts the ball down. I think he's got 2 man of the matches so far. I think he's made a huge difference to the team. So on balance, yeah, great. Timber, I think, would have been a brilliant player in the way that Arteta wanted to play. Obviously, he got injured. Yeah, I mean Havertz. I think the jury's still out. I'm definitely not gonna make a judgment on him just yet.
Does it bother you that you could have got James Maddison for like 20 mil cheaper though?
Yes, but I don't. Maddison to me is more of a kind of Odegaard player. I don't know if Maddison is that role that they're trying to get Havertz to play. I think I'm not making it. Obviously, has been a slow start, but I'm not making a judgment on that just yet. I'd probably want to see what he's like up until Christmas, and then we'll see where we're at. I think we've got a lot of players that obviously. Oh fucking hell! I don't know what happened there. Fabio Vieira's come in and done all right in that position. I think Trossard's a super clever player, an intelligent footballer.
Trossard's brilliant. I think he's one of those like.
I really do.
Like a bit of a Nico Cranshaw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that he's just so smart in the way he plays, and his decision making is brilliant. And it's almost like hard to choose between him and Martinelli because they both offer something different on that wing. So I'm not sure on Havertz yet. I want to give him more time. And then Raya, obviously, yeah. I mean, I just feel it's again, it's one that I'd have to wait and see how it plays out. Initially, my initial reaction was like, "What are we doing?" Ramsdale's been brilliant. He got in the PFA Team of the Year. He's been a big part of changing the culture of the club. He makes saves that win games. But then I don't know. It's weird because we're talking about Aaron Ramsdale as if that he's not good with his feet. He might not be as good as Raya, but his distribution is absolutely unreal. I think that Raya had a better, from the stats that I've heard, that he's collected like a lot more crosses and a lot more successful collecting crosses than Ramsdale. Maybe that was part of it, and he has a better range of passing. So his long range passing, I think, was part of the reason. Again, I'm just not sure how it's going to play out. I kind of like this thinking of competition for places. Ramsdale been on a number of podcasts where he said he kind of doesn't really massively enjoy training and he gets bored. And I wonder if Arteta heard things like that and has seen a little bit of dips in form up and down, even though he made some absolutely ridiculous saves as well during the sort of the end of last season and during the run-in. And maybe Ramsdale needs, a kick up the backside to really bring the best out in him. I wonder if Arteta's thinking that. Arteta talking about subbing goalkeepers and stuff through games. It's not something we've seen, so it's really hard to say whether that's going to work or not. My thought would be, when you bring in Raya and you do that, what does the rest of the squad? Now, the positive reaction could be everyone's like, bloody hell, like if Aaron Ramsdale's getting bombed out, then we all better back our ideas up and like reach absolute like elite levels. Otherwise, it just brings someone in to replace us. And then if Raya comes in and starts winning, do you have the mentality of an elite team where you're like, yeah, we love Aaron, he's a good mate, but we want to win, and does that push the levels up, or does it slightly disrupt the team? And they think, Arteta, that's ruthless, mate. Like, does that make them think differently of him? I don't know. It's too early to tell. All I can say is when I first saw it, I was shocked by it. I wasn't sure it was a good move. Raya's played 2 games and he's looked really good, but we played against Everton and we played against PSV. So for my money, how I'd look at the goalkeeping situation is Raya, there is very little to choose between their distribution, although I'd say Raya slightly edges it, but let's not make out like Ramsdale is, not good on the ball, because he is. But Raya is like an outfield player. I think Klopp, in a post-match press conference last season, said that he was like a number 10. And then I think Raya, the numbers suggest that he's better at collecting crosses. And then I know I'm going to say this stat. I'm going to say this, which is more of an eye test rather than fact, because I think Raya ranked highest in the league for saves. I mean, what does that really mean? I was thinking about that stat, and I was like, 1, he plays for Brentford, so he's obviously going to face more shots than what Ramsdale did. And also, what are those saves like? Are they difficult saves? Are they saves you expect him to make? Because from the eye test, and I'm not a goalkeeping coach or an expert, but I'd say that if Raya is reliable and makes good saves, I remember more of Ramsdale's match-winning saves. And that's maybe just because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I think Ramsdale has that capacity. So overall, I think good business. The other side of that is obviously getting rid of Nicola Pepe for free. Arsenal, over the years, historically terrible at selling players on. We need to get better at that. And then, Pepe, before Rice, our club record signing 72 million, we just ripped up his contract and let him go for free. So Rob Holding's gone for 4 million. I don't care what anyone says. Rob Holding is better than 4 million. Like, he became a bit of a scapegoat for us. He's not Virgil van Dijk. He's not William Saliba, but he's a good player. He's a solid Premier League defender.
It's largely how I feel about Eric Dyer, mate. Eric Dyer's
worth more than 4 million. They couldn't sell Tierney, so a loan, I guess, is all right. But the problem with Tierney is his age bracket. So if you sign him, firstly, how many games you get out of him if you're an opposition team, because he has a bad injury record. And then if he signs like a 4-year deal, which takes him, I think, into like his 30s or close to 30, then you're not selling him on. You're not going to make any money from him. So I still think Arsenal they're not good at that. They're not. They look like they're bringing better players in, but we're crap at selling players, or at least we have been in recent times. So yes, I'm pleased with it, but you might have to come back and ask me again when we see how the Havertz and Raya situations pan out.
All right. Well, let's go to some of the Twitter questions now. I did ask people to be as constructive as they could at this part. So at _Nathan F38 says, does Arsenal's mega spending warrant a title or Champions League to justify Arteta keeping his job? We've had a similar one from at Bray Matty as well, which is genuinely how long before Arteta has to win something?
That is a really good question. The reason it's difficult to answer is the expectation should be to win stuff now, but as we discussed earlier, you're in the era of Man City, so how fair can that be? How close is it realistic? How realistic is to say that you can beat them? Liverpool did it once, and how good? Well, obviously they won the Champions League, and so over that period, let's say Klopp has been Liverpool 8 years, so he won the Champions League once, the Premier League once, and I think he won. Did he win the Europa League? They did win. Did they win the Europa League?
I'm not so sure.
No, they were. Sorry, they didn't. They lost that final. They won the FA Cup in the league.
Sevilla? Did they lose?
Yeah.
To Sevilla? Yeah.
Yes, and they won the FA Cup.
Loses to Sevilla in the Europa League. So.
Yeah, and they won the FA Cup and the League Cup over 8 years. So we're in the era of Man City. I think the expectation should be to win now, and if the team is progressing and pushing Man City, I think that's fair. But if other teams start to overtake Arsenal, that would be more. I think what you have to your concern should be is what are other teams doing, and how close are they getting to City, and are they surpassing Arsenal? But to beat City is a pretty tall order.
Do you not see Spurs as a bit of a cautionary tale on that, though? Ditching Pochettino, going for the win now manager, because surely that's the sort of thing you'd do if you booted out Arteta, you'd be trying to go for, I can't think of an example off the top of my head right now, but one of those proven win now type managers, right?
I don't think Arsenal will do that. We didn't do that with Unai Emery. He kind of seemed like a long-term project, but his sort of failure to communicate. Obviously, he's doing a better job at Villa. I just don't think Arsenal would do that, and I don't think there are too many of those managers out there anymore.
Literally, as I said it, I was thinking,
there's Pep and there's Klopp, and who else is there? Because all the other managers have kind of had some success and then fallen down somewhere. So I don't think there are too many of those kind of win now managers anymore. Mourinho's kind of lost his I don't know what the word is. Yeah, he's kind of Mourinho's lost his I don't know. I can't think of the word on the top of my head.
Gloss, hasn't he?
Yeah. He just kind of, you don't look at him and think, he's gonna bring immediate success. And I think football's moved on from kind of his style of football. So no, I don't think Arsenal make that mistake.
We've had a good fuck off with a little jab there as well. We've had one from @TheRealShoeban. This is a good question. I think this is particularly relevant to Tottenham as well. Do you think that the lack of a 20-goal a season striker like Aubameyang has actually helped Arsenal to develop each team member as they need to step up and be counted? You can't be reliant on one player to drag them through in difficult periods anymore.
Yeah, I definitely think it demands more from the rest of the team. But what I would say, if I can articulate this effectively, is that a lot of those players that are contributing goals they're scoring goals in games. They might, like where you're beating teams comfortably at home, or they're getting the odd goal in an important game. But I think that clinical, world-class, lethal striker is the one who you rely on to step up in big games. And if a chance falls to that player in a big game when they haven't had a lot of chances, that you need that person. You need someone when you're hammering, you're all over a team that's sitting back and you can't score, and then you get a half chance. That is what that player brings, and you've seen that of Erling Haaland. So, yeah, it does bring out the best in the rest of the team, but I still think you need that main man. Every team, even you say about Barcelona, how good every player was in that team, they still needed Messi. And he would score, obviously, ridiculous numbers. And so, yeah, Man City have got Haaland. And I think if Arsenal and Spurs really want to push them, they need that elite world-class striker.
We got one from @Daniel_Shack. And I would lump you in with the normal Arsenal fans. So I can ask you this one. But it's, do normal Arsenal fans get embarrassed by the online fan base, this weird cultish behaviour and lack of any modesty? I'm guessing this is in reference to, a lot of the little Twitter edgelords, your Arsenal fan TVs, all that type of thing. We've spoken about this type of stuff before, Ben, but it doesn't go down well with your fan base as much as it does anybody else's, really, does it?
No, I mean, anyone that I follow is an Arsenal fan with, I'd like to think, some sort of can take a step back and not judge things impartially, but have a good read of the situation, not through Arsenal bias. It's embarrassing. Like, I really hate it when I have people will be like, "Oh, Arsenal fans think this," and I think, do they? Because not anyone I know thinks that or says that. That's what you see on Twitter. That's not what I know of Arsenal fans. I think that's bollocks what you're saying. And yeah, it's embarrassing. I think what happened is a perfect storm. Arsenal Fan TV rose to prominence at a time when we were terrible, and they had all the ingredients for what would come in together of, like, basically what social media was about at that time and what works, which is based, who shouts the loudest and is the most extreme will get rewarded, because that's what people want to look at. That's what makes you stand out. And then you had all these kind of characters that, you could go through that cast of characters, and some of it gives some pretty grim reading. And that's what people wanted to watch. And then the more success they had with the nonsense that they were saying and the extreme opinions and the toxic nature of what they were doing, it rewarded them. So, anyone in that situation is going to do that. So yeah, it's embarrassing. I hate it, but it is what it is. And you kind of hear less from them now, right? Now that we're winning, or not that we're winning, that we're doing better. So hopefully we moved on from that.
That geezer that sits in his car and shouts, I can't.
I know, but everyone knows that he's just doing that to, he has that one video that's success, right? First of all, why on earth would you do that? Why are you sitting in your car thinking, do you know what I'll do? I'll make this video where I shout absolute bollocks, almost to the point of tears, and I'll post it online and I'll see what kind of reaction I get. No one with who's thinking sensibly thinks that's a good idea.
I don't understand how these lads aren't thinking, I might get a slap next time I go to a game if I do this.
Yeah, or just everyone loses their integrity. It's I want to be famous for something. I don't care what it is. I will. All I want is the attention, and I don't care at what cost it comes. I do not understand it. It's if everyone's going to know I want it to be for something positive and a good reason. I don't want it to be because I've sat in a car like a Burke, talking a load of bollocks, shouting and screaming and nearly crying, expressing views that aren't necessarily aligned with how I feel, but because I know people react to it. I just think there's no shame or integrity to it. And yeah, it's all funny. We're going to laugh at it, and I would laugh at it if it was other fans. But I just don't understand as an individual why you do that.
What about creating an anonymous Twitter account that's sort of elephant themed, whilst being a normal working professional behind the scenes? Do you reckon?
Yeah, but because yours is so calculated, and because I know you as a person, but it makes me laugh because how would I describe it?
It does wind you up sometimes. I know. Sometimes it does.
You are a genuine solid gold prick at times. I read your tweets and I think he's such a dick. He's doing that. I know that he doesn't necessarily believe that to his fullest, but he knows this is going to fuck people off. And because I've also told this to you, I also know that there are sometimes you hit tweet and you just know that I'm sitting there thinking, why is he such a prick? Why is he posting that? He doesn't think that. He's just doing it to annoy me.
Thinking of your face.
Especially when I'm pissed off again, during that run-in, some of your tweets were fucking me off. I was thinking,
I was scared. I thought you lot were going to do it.
I was genuinely I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna ghost him next time he messages me. He's pissing me off. Why is he doing this? This is pure.
I didn't do it though, did I? I didn't message you when it all went tits up. I couldn't do that. I'm not going to do that thing. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So, Arsenal Fan TV and all the rest of it, put it in the bin, mate.
We'll do. Let's just do one last one because I know you got to dash off, mate. But Uncle Albert says, "What's with that fucking dog?" Win. I saw. Do you know what? I saw some Spurs fan tweet earlier. He tweeted, "Winners in a box is going to hit differently when the time comes."
Oh my god! So I actually, you know what, right? The idea of having a dog around the training ground, I don't think that's a bad idea. I genuinely don't. I get it. I really do, but it's just calling it win, which just feels like an act of pure Brentism that is quite hard to quantify.
Did you see that Photoshop doing the rounds of someone had changed it to an XL bully on the team photo?
Oh god, yeah, you've got to take the piss out of it, really. But I get the thinking behind it, but calling it win is just a bit too cheesy.
I did say last question, but literally just before I let you go, mate, thank you for joining us. And I just want to ask, go on, give us a prediction. How do you think?
Okay, so I'm going to rattle through this. First of all, you can drop this in wherever you want, and I'll go off on this a little bit because I feel like, and obviously feel free to edit a lot of my fucking verbose, convoluted Arsenal waffle out prior to this, but I think Spurs are looking good, and I think that, which I hate. I really wanted them to be shy under Ange. He is annoyingly likable because he's relatable, sort of down to earth, and doesn't take any bullshit. As an individual, I can see why everyone likes him. I think genuinely Spurs fans need to settle the fuck down. It is very early doors. Early
Could we
doors.
though, Ben? Could we? Can we?
No, you definitely can't. No, no chance. No fucking chance. And I've always said, like, it is. I hate that Spurs are good in any way. Like, any success or anything they have is, I want them to lose every game, but I like it a little bit that the games mean something, because when you win, it means something, and so it's good in that sense. But obviously, torturous experience watching any North London derby. It's stressful, not enjoyable. Can't have anyone around me. Basically, can't have my kids near me because I just kind of want them to not speak to me, and I don't care if one of them's like shit himself or needs a drink because the North London derby is on. So just fuck off and leave me alone until the end. If we win, and therefore, like, I just want to hug them and stuff.
Come on, boys!
It's a hard one to predict. I always say, I don't know. I think Arsenal will win. I think Arsenal are going to win. I think it'll be close, but I think Arsenal will win 2-1. If it was at White Lane, definitely I'm different prediction. But I think Arsenal have looked strong at home. I'm really interested to see how Tottenham approach this game. I know that you're saying they're going to go for it, and that's his mentality, but I feel like that would be a little bit foolish.
It may be, mate, but that's how he's wired. He will not, 100%. He won't sit back against you. Like he won't. He won't.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to articulate watching what it's like to watch a North London derby. It's kind of like someone laying on the ground and like a steamroller moving really slowly towards them. That is what it feels like watching the 90 minutes. Like you're just waiting for some sort of crushing death, and you're just hoping that someone averts that crushing death.
Well, it's like that, isn't it? It's like the steamroller's moving towards you, and it either goes over you, or just as it reaches your feet, the bloke driving it jumps out and gives you £1 million. Right?
It is like that. What is it when you're watching a game like that? Every attack the opposition have, you think they're going to score. You think they're going to score. It's like, oh my God. Even if they get in your half, you're like, oh my God, they're going to score. They're going to score. This is it. They're going to score. It's just awful to watch.
When you're watching it yourself, though, when you're watching it your side, you're like, oh, it's Man of Solomon. He's going to fuck that up. You know what I mean? No, it's nothing. It's nothing.
No, I say they're going to get a penalty. They always get a penalty. They're going to get a penalty. So I think Arsenal will win. Yeah, I think Arsenal will win. I can't believe I'm saying that. I don't think I've ever said that. I'm so negative.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your prediction?
I think you're getting ahead of yourself, mate. No, I don't know. Yeah, I think we'll go for you. It all depends. This is the first real test, and I don't count Manchester United in that because we can see how shit they are now. This is the first real test this team, a lot of these players, this system has had. And other than Manchester City, really, Liverpool, it's the toughest test in the league, isn't it, right now? So it will be interesting to see. I do agree with you. I think that us playing in this sort of expansive style that we do will leave us open. It will allow players like Saka, especially, who just looks like he's gone on fucking levels completely. Like, I mean, I'm not just having a dig. Like, I think you lot need to be careful because he is getting to that level where someone like City thinks, let's have him. You know, he's brilliant. So he can hurt us. He can definitely hurt us. But it's hard to know. I don't know what this Ange Postecoglou team is capable of. Some of these players, like Basuma's looking unbelievable. Maddison is he's looking way better than I ever thought he was. I wasn't happy that we signed him, you know, but he looks absolutely unbelievable for us. That young sort of left back we got, Destiny Udogie, he's amazing. You know, there's a lot there that's exciting, but you lot you're further ahead in your journey and in your process. There's a bit more experience in your team, so you know it might be a chasing experience for us. I can't predict a Spurs loss, so I'm going to go with a draw. But you know, it's going to be. I think it's actually, do you know what, for the neutrals, I think it's going to be a fucking good game this week.
I do. If you don't support either of these teams, that arguably for me this is the best matchup of the season so far in terms of like
100%.
two teams that are pretty close.
It's the best derby in the league, 100%.
Definitely, because they're the teams that are closest together, and yeah, it's really like in this kind of this modern era is definitely become one of the best the derbies in the league, and always kind of produces goals and sort of exciting matches. But if Arsenal have to grind out a 1-0, I'll take it. I don't care if it's the shittest game of the season and we're crap. I'll take a 1-0 because I can't bear to lose to Spurs in this game. It'll be awful. Oh my God, you will be unbearable. I mean, if it's been bad so far, but how good do you think Spurs are? If you win this game, that's it. Musk needs to shut down Twitter and cancel you because I will not be able to handle it.
I will be disgusting. I'm not going to lie. Right, Ben. Have a shit weekend, mate. See you later.
See you, mate.